We are less than 24 hours away from the NFL season kicking off. You had your fun in this summer doing your fantasy football drafts, but now it's time to actually take those players that you drafted and put them into your lineup. In today's video, I'm going to help you do exactly that, discussing my top 40 wide receiver rankings and tiers for week number 1 of the 2025 fantasy football season. Before we can get on into things, though, I would like to ask that if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And if you would like access to my weekly rankings, please make sure you check out the Patreon link in the video description for $12.50 a month. So without further ado, let's get into the video. We begin with the must-start wide receiver 1 tier. Ja'Marr Chase, Justin Jefferson, Malik Nabers, Nico Collins, Drake London, Puka Nacua, Brian Thomas Jr., Mike Evans, Ladd McConkey, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and A.J. Brown. All of these wide receivers were unanimous consensus top 24 picks in fantasy football drafts. If you had drafted them, you are going to start them. I guess technically Ladd went in the 3rd round of some drafts, but a majority of these guys were top 2-round picks. Ja'Marr Chase going up against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. This is a great spot for him to come out the jump of the season on fire. I believe that Ja'Marr Chase is going to absolutely eviscerate the Cleveland Browns defense. I think this is going to be a belt to ass matchup. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to come out the gate of the season on fire. Unlike in prior years where they really come out the gate looking slow, I love Ja'Marr Chase this week. He was my wide receiver 1 in fantasy drafts, my number 1 overall pick. So obviously I got him at the tippy top here this week. At number 2, we got Justin Jefferson going up against the Chicago Bears in Chicago. Justin Jefferson was my wide receiver 3 in fantasy drafts. Obviously, I loved Justin Jefferson as a top 6 fantasy pick, and I love him this week up against the Chicago Bears. I do somewhat have my reservations with quarterback J.J. McCarthy, but ultimately the volume is going to be ridiculous for Justin Jefferson. No Jordan Addison in this game as well, so I think that J.J. McCarthy is going to link up with Justin Jefferson a ton in this game, and I feel very confident about him. At number 3, we have Malik Nabers going up against the left hands up. Who are we? The Commanders in Washington. Now, on paper, is this the most ideal matchup for the Giants? No. They're probably going to be getting beaten silly in this game by the Commanders, but ultimately, if you are down bad, what happens? You have to throw the ball a ton, which is going to lead to Malik Nabers putting up a massive week 1 performance. At number 4 is Nico Collins going up against the LA Rams in LA. Nico Collins was one of my favorite players during the fantasy football draft season process, and I love him this week up against the LA Rams defense. While they do have a great front 7, I do think that Nico Collins is going to be able to exploit this defense just like he would be able to exploit any defense. They have a much different offense compared to last season. There's obviously no Tank Dell, there's no Stephon Diggs, so Nico Collins is going to get fed like a fat kid on his birthday. I love Nico Collins. At number 5, Drizzy Drake London going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this matchup has the ability to be the highest scoring game on the week. We saw Drake London down the stretch of the season, the final 3 games with Michael Penix Jr. under center, get peppered with targets game in and game out, and I fully expect that up against the Bucs. I think Drake London is going to start the season off incredibly strong, and everyone that listened to me all over the summer, giving this guy the metaphorical Gawk Gawk 9000, is going to feel very nice about their pick. At number 6, we got Puka Nacua going up against the Houston Texans. I know that Devontae Adams being there definitely does scare some people, but ultimately, Puka Nacua has been a guy that's gotten there in back-to-back seasons by not really being a huge touchdown threat. So Devontae Adams stealing away some of those red zone targets doesn't really impact things at all. I am, in a way, slightly nervous about how Matthew Stafford will look, but if Matthew Stafford's going to go, he's going to play relatively decent enough for Puka Nacua to get a lot of targets, and Matthew Stafford has been a guy to play through injury in the past, so I'm not worried about that at all. At number 7, we got BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr. going up against the Carolina Panthers at home in Jacksonville. I also think this game has the ability to be a sneaky, high-scoring, back-and-forth matchup. BTJ, the clear wide receiver one there. I know that Travis Hunter's there, and I know a lot of people like to nitpick about the fact that, oh my gosh, we didn't end up seeing BTJ have a great season with Trevor Lawrence. Mac Jones carried BTJ with Trevor Lawrence under center. The whole ship's gonna sink. I don't think so at all. I think adding Travis Hunter to the offense also makes things a lot easier for BTJ. At number 8, we got Magic Mike Evans going up against the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. This is a great spot for him in the sole game he played up against the Falcons last season. He bent them over a table. I expect the exact same thing here. No Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka's first start. Pencil Mike Evans in for a big performance. At number 9, we got the Ladd McConkey, going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Do I love this matchup? No. But even with Keenan Allen there, I just think that Ladd McConkey is the safety valve for Justin Herbert, the pervert. I think we are going to be seeing him get a ton of targets in this game. And while I don't expect this to be the highest scoring game on the week, and Vegas doesn't either, if the Chiefs defense is getting cream pied like they did by the Philadelphia Eagles offense in the Super Bowl, then this could be a back and forth affair. Ladd McConkey definitely started to really pick things up towards the end of last season. I think he's going to continue that in week number 1. At number 10, we have CeeDee Lamb going up against the Eagles in Philadelphia. Now, out of every single player ranked inside of the top 12 in this must-start wide receiver 1 tier, CeeDee Lamb is the player that I am the most nervous about. Obviously, you are never going to sit CeeDee Lamb. Doesn't matter who he's going against. I don't care if it's the best defense ever assembled or the worst defense ever. You are going to play CeeDee Lamb. But it is important to note that the Philadelphia Eagles just had the Kansas City Chiefs offense in chains in the Super Bowl. I get the defense is different, but it doesn't fucking matter. They still have a lot of those pieces, and I'm very scared about CeeDee Lamb. I think this could be a game where the Cowboys are down a ton. They're going to have to throw a bunch to CeeDee Lamb. He'll be fine, but if CeeDee Lamb ends up busting this week, don't be shocked about it at all. At number 11, we got Amon-Ra St. Brown going up against the Packers in Green Bay. Another matchup that I don't feel the best about, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is Amon-Ra St. Brown, just like CeeDee Lamb is CeeDee Lamb. You didn't draft Amon-Ra St. Brown in the late first or the early second round to pussy out and sit him in week number 1 in what could be a high-scoring game. A.J. Brown going up against the Dallas Cowboys. I was definitely out on A.J. Brown this summer. I don't think I was so negative to where no one drafted him, but I wasn't all in on him. So I guess I wasn't out, but I wasn't all in. I felt kind of meh about him. The team is super run heavy. I think Saquon Barkley is going to blow the back out of the Dallas Cowboys defense. A.J. Brown could score multiple touchdowns here, though, and again, if you drafted A.J. Brown at ADP, you're not going to sit him in week 1, especially up against a Dallas Cowboys defense that is gutted now without Micah Parsons. Moving now into the second tier, the high-end wide receiver 2s, T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. I said in my wide receiver start-sit video that I post earlier on in the week every single week. Make sure you guys are subscribed for all these videos. I post a ton. I expect T. Higgins and Jamar Chase to form an Eiffel Tower over the Cleveland Browns defense and take them on a one-way ticket to Pound Town. I think that T. Higgins going to come out the gate on fire, NBA Jam style. I think the Bengals, that again, while they are notoriously slow starters, I think they are going to turn this thing up to the maximum, hit Mach 10 speed, and smack the ever-living shit out of the Cleveland Browns defense, Mike Tyson style. I love T. Higgins all summer. I love him in this spot. Tyreek Hill, my wide receiver 14 at the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I think that there is a very large range of outcomes here for Tyreek Hill, right? Tyreek Hill could come out the gate like he always does in Miami and put up a big performance. Even though last year was a disaster, he played incredibly well up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, despite the fact that just hours before the game, the cops had him in cuffs, and then they hit that cool handcuff celebration. Now, there's also the chance that Tyreek Hill and Tua aren't working together. The chemistry isn't correct. Something's fucked up, and it doesn't work. Tyreek's a certified bust. But up against the Colts defense, You drafted Tyreek Hill because you are with me. You believe that Tyreek Hill is still a great wide receiver. You believe that despite the fact that the numbers weren't as good last year, that Tyreek Hill is still one of the better wide receivers in the NFL, and he has week winning upside in any given game, which is what I believe. I love Tyreek Hill up against the Indianapolis Colts. I get there's blatant risk here. This is not a condom wrap, super safe play, but Tyreek should still be in your lineup as a high-end wide receiver too. At number 15, we got Davante Adams going up against the Houston Texans. I love Davante Adams this year. He's another guy that I talked up heavily all summer long. Again, I think a lot of people are kind of nervous because of Matthew Stafford, and I get why you might be nervous. But again, if you drafted Davante Adams, you forgoed the nervousness that you had, the butterflies in your stomach. You're going to play Davante Adams up against the Houston Texans in his debut game, where he is going to see a boatload of targets. At number 16, we got JSN. Don't love this spot up against the 49ers, but I do believe that JSN has a very solid floor week in and week out, just due to the amount of targets he should receive in this offense. I don't trust Sam Darnold worth jack shit, and I do think they are going to be very run heavy, but based on where you drafted JSN, and again, based upon the fact that I don't really see JSN going bust in week number 1, I definitely like him in the high-end wide receiver 2 range. Now we move into the low-end wide receiver 2s with Tet McMillan, Marvin Harrison Jr., DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Ricky Pearsall, Garrett Wilson, Xavier Worthy, as well as Terry McLaurin. But before we break down this tier and the rest of the tiers in depth, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog and sign up using the link in the video description, or by using promo code Notorious, you will get a free pick, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus funds, as well as if you are a new user using promo code Notorious or by clicking on the link in the video description, if you do a $5 pick'em, they will instantly give you $50 in bonus funds. If you don't know how the pick'em works, it's incredibly simple. You pick at least 2 players, both on different teams, and if the higher or lower hits, whichever one you select, if both of the picks hit, you get paid. If you do multiple other picks, all the other picks would have to hit as well, but the payout will be higher. So make sure you guys do check out Underdog, promo code Notorious, or by clicking on the link in the video description. Now, Tet McMillan, it is his debut game. So some people get a little bit nervous about, hey, this is his first ever game in the NFL. He could potentially absolutely steamroll me here, but I love this spot against the Jaguars in Jacksonville. Duval, I think this is going to be a back and forth rock'em sock'em robots affair here. I love Tet McMillan all summer. Now there is going to be no Jalen Coker early on in the season. I think Tet McMillan is miles above a Hunter Renfrow, David Moore, or a Xavier, somebody touching my Leggett. So T-Mac, week number 1, feeling real nicey about him. Next up, we got Marvin Harrison Jr. going up against the Saints in New Orleans. Now, realistically, Marvin Harrison Jr. should go ballistic in this game. Marvin Harrison Jr. should be able to put up his best game of his career. This is a cupcake matchup for Marvin Harrison Jr. But you have to deep down have the worries of, last season wasn't the best for Marvin Harrison Jr. And hey, are they going to actually dial up the correct plays to use for Marvin Harrison Jr.? So while there are those worries, the upside is way too significant for you to sit him this week. Next up, we got Wiki DJ Moore going up against the cold-like Minnesota Vikings. Now, this was a cupcake light work matchup for any wide receiver last season. The Minnesota Vikings secondary was getting plowed like a street in Minnesota during the winter. It was light work for wide receivers, and DJ Moore seemingly is the wide receiver 1 in this offense. Now, I get everyone was giving Rome Odunze the Sukalamink special, and I love Rome Odunze, but at the end of the day, DJ Moore is the wide receiver 1 in a very easy matchup. Don't overthink it. Next up, we got Cortland Sutton going up against the Tennessee Titans. I think that Cortland Sutton was very underrated this year, but I do think he's going up against a defense that is severely underrated in the Tennessee Titans. So I kind of paced myself and put him here instead of ranking him higher. Obviously, though, any guys that are in these tiers early on are basically must starts. I get that they're divided by the rankings. I get, obviously, my confidence level dwindles as you get lower and lower into the rankings, but as a low-end wide receiver too. These are all guys you want on your team in your lineup in week number 1. Courtland Sutton was getting targeted out the wazoo in the final preseason game, seeing I believe it was 50% of the time the ball was thrown, it went the way from Bo Nix to Courtland Sutton. We're not going to expect a 50% target share weekly, but in this game up against the Titans, when Courtland Sutton ran hot towards the end of the last season, you got to feel good about it. Next up, we got Ricky Pearsall going up against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. I'm seeing some quote-unquote negative reports about Ricky Rolex on Twitter. Oh, Ricky Rolex isn't ready to be the wide receiver number 1. Motherfucker, I've said this a million times. Ricky Pearsall was willing to die for his Rolex. He got shot, stole the guy's gun, shot the other guy, and got his Rolex back. You'd think that guy's not ready to be the wide receiver 1 on the San Francisco 49ers. Cry me a river. This guy looked very good at multiple points last season. People be like, Nick, he didn't have that good of a rookie year because he got shot. That's why. Spoiler alert, he got shot, okay? So don't worry about Ricky Pearsall. Juwan Jennings should play in this game, but he's been dealing with the injury or the contract or an amalgamation of both. I think Ricky is going to be the number 1 target on this team out of the wide receivers. Maybe Kittle out-targets him, but I like this spot up against Seattle in Seattle. At number 22, we got Garrett Wilson going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not the best spot, not the worst spot. Feel pretty good about Garrett Wilson because I felt good about him all summer long, like that Kid Rock song. A lot of people not with me. They're scared of the Jets. Ultimately, any given week, Justin Fields could shit it up. This is a very low-scoring game on paper, so I wouldn't expect Garrett Wilson to come out the gate scoring 1,000,000 points. Like, he probably has the lowest upside out of the guys in this tier, but I still think he finishes as a top 24 wide receiver. Next up, we got Xavier Worthy, Professor X, going up against the LA Chargers in Brazil on Friday night. I don't like Xavier Worthy that much in fantasy this season. I think once Rashee Rice returns, if Kelsey's cooking like I think he will, then Xavier Worthy is going to fall out of favor. Xavier Worthy was a guy that dominated in fantasy football at points last season because of the fact that they were designing so many plays for Xavier Worthy. He was getting so many targets that were behind the line of scrimmage. It was almost insane to watch. But once Rashee Rice comes back, I think he's the clear wide receiver 1 on this team. But you want to know who's not there in week 1 or week 2 or week 3 or week 4, 5, or 6 because he's suspended? Rashee Rice. So early on in the season, you can feel great about Xavier Worthy. Final guy in this tier is Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, going up against the New York Football Giants. Do I like this matchup? Yes. Am I scared about Terry? Yes. Last season, entering into the year, CeeDee Lamb held out. I thought it would all be fine. Him and Dak Prescott, they've got chemistry going back years. It's going to be A-okay. But they were not on the same page. They were not on the same chapter. They were not in the same fucking book. Dak Prescott was reading The Lord of the Rings, and then you look at CeeDee Lamb and he's reading Cat in the Hat, right? 2 completely different things. It didn't work well. Terry McLaurin's been holding out all summer. Recently returns. Sure, him and Jaden Stormy Daniels have a great connection, and sure, he's the wide receiver 1 on the team, but if there's a couple balls that are misplaced, a couple of times where, hey, Terry definitely would have caught that last year, but he somehow dropped it, I wouldn't be surprised about that. So if you wanted to rank Terry in the tier below this, I wouldn't judge it too much. But again, I find it very hard to, hey, if you went out there and you drafted Terry McLaurin, to sit him because he does prove to be a favorite target of Jaden Stormy Daniels. Moving now into the 4th tier, the high-end wide receiver 3s, Emeka Egbuka, Stephon Diggs, Jerry Jeudy, Rome Odunze, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, as well as DK Metcalf. Now, Emeka Egbuka, I am all in on. I pushed all the chips to the center of the table. I would not be shocked if by the end of the season, Emeka Egbuka outscored Mike Evans. But this is game number 1, right? And it's a little bit different with Tep because I assume out the gate, Tep McMillan's the wide receiver 1 in Carolina. Emeka Egbuka is definitely not the wide receiver 1 in Tampa Bay. Again, I like the high-scoring nature of this game in Hotlanta, so I think Egbuka is going to get out on the right foot, but I also don't think he's going to go scorched earth in week number 1. At number 26, we got Stephon Diggs, who is reportedly good to go. GTG should be ready to play on Sunday, according to Doug Heed. Obviously, coming off the ACL tear, every video I seen in training camp, Stefon Diggs looked like the Stefon Diggs that we are used to. He didn't look slow. He didn't look washed up. But it is important to note that in a real game, maybe he could start off a little bit slower. The Raiders defense, not the worst matchup for Stefon Diggs, but if he started slow, I wouldn't be surprised. So that's why he is down here instead of higher up. But on the whole season, I really think Stefon Diggs could easily finish as a top 15, top 12 even wide receiver. Next up is Jerry Jeudy. Beautiful matchup for Jeudy going up against the Bengals, right? You can't have a better matchup than this, I guess, except for like the Vikings, right? So one of the better matchups, but deep down, do I trust Joe Flacco? The answer is no. Now, any given game, Joe Flacco could turn back the clock and play like he did back in the day. Like last year, we saw those high highs, but we also saw very low lows where the guy didn't look like he at all saw the defender or threw it right to him. I am worried about Flacco. I think David Njoku is going to be feasting here because the fact that Joe Flacco loves David Njoku. So Jerry Jeudy could have that huge game, that very big performance. But ultimately, when push comes to shove, it's week 1. I don't think you need to get super overzealous with the ranking of Jerry Jeudy. Next up, we got Rome Odunze versus the Minnesota Vikings. You know what they say in the history books, what they say in history class, that Rome wasn't built in a day. And that's the exact same case with Rome Odunze. His rookie season wasn't the best. It was far from ideal. It was not ideal like the ranking of the final guys we're going to be talking about in today's video. But now he is getting a brand new play caller, a brand new head coach, a offensive guru, a offensive genius, Ben Johnson. Now, Caleb Williams, there's a lot of question marks, like a suit that the Riddler would wear, okay? And I'm a little bit concerned about that. And I'm a little bit concerned about what the actual usage looks like for Rome Odunze. But to me, he feels like the number 2 behind DJ Moore, who is number 1 wide receiver in all of Chicago. Very nice, okay? So I like Rome Odunze a ton. Ben Johnson basically sucked the dude up, metaphorically, of course, all summer long. He loves him. So I like Rome Odunze. I love the matchup. But again, we don't need to get too high and mighty with our ranking of Rome Odunze in week number 1. Next up is Devontae Smith. Now, I think Devontae Smith could be a large casualty of the Philadelphia Eagles making it rain on the Dallas Cowboys. Putting him up big early. He's been dealing with the groin injury, but there's no designation for week 1. And what I mean by that is, if they're just up significantly, they're just going to run the ball gently down the stream with Saquon Barkley roughly 7,000 times. And then you won't see as much Devontae Smith. I was pretty out on Devontae Smith this season, but this is one of the highest projected game totals on the week. And Devontae Smith, any given game, could have that big catch, that big touchdown. So he's ranked here fairly. Just not all over him in this spot. Next up is Jalen Waddle going up against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. If Tyreek Hill, for some reason, isn't good to go, even though he's expected to be good to go, then Jalen Waddle would be a top 15, 16 wide receiver. He'd be in the same exact tier that Tyreek is in with T. Higgins, Devontae Adams, and JSN. But with Tyreek there definitely is some limited upside on a season-long standpoint, but weekly, he does still have pretty big upside. I think last year was a little bit of a wash for both guys. I'm not going to overthink that too much. I like this spot up against the Colts defense, but again, I don't think anyone's feeling the greatest about Jalen Waddle. You can almost divide this tier with like Egbuka, Diggs, Jeudy, and Odunze into their own mini tier, but I did kind of want to include them all together. But if you see a drop off there, that's fine with me. Final guys, DK Metcalf going up against the Jets in Gotham in MetLife. Bad matchup for DK Metcalf. Terrible matchup for his first ever game in Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers. This is the Aaron Rodgers revenge game. Rough spot, though, against that Jets defense. I know, Nick, the Jets defense sucked donkey dick last season. Well, guess what? It's a different season. I think Aaron Glenn is going to get these guys going. So Metcalf scares me, but he is the clear best target on this team. So he's not going to get completely buried for you because he gets so many targets. The next tier here is going to be tier number 5, which is going to be the low-end wide receiver 3s. Travis Hunter, Jameson Williams, Zay Flowers, George Pickens, Juwan Jennings, Matthew Golden-Scar, as well as Jacoby Myers. Now, Travis Hunter is expected to start at wide receiver, back up at cornerback. So if you're really worried that he was going to be out there playing defense a bunch, don't panic too much about that. I think he still will get out there at least a couple times, though, on defense. Love the matchup up against the Panthers. Love BTJ here. But I have my questions with, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to hit BTJ because he can catch anything. We'll see what happens here with Trevor Lawrence. We're just being a little bit cautious with our rankings. Obviously, if Travis Hunter goes bananas in this game, we'll move him up next week. Next up, we got J-Mo up against the Packers in Green Bay. Didn't really like J-Mo this draft season. Very much a big play merchant a lot of the time, but the big play could come here against the Packers. I just don't like this spot. I think the Packers defense is going to be one of the better ones in the NFL. So for week 1, I'm cooling off on J-Mo. Next up is Zay Flowers going up against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Zay Flowers is a guy that just really can never increase his touchdown number. I would be shocked if he scored like 7+ touchdowns this season. Any given game, the touchdown upside's there. This is projected to be the highest scoring game of the week. But if Lamar Jackson isn't going to hit him a million times, and if he's not really a red zone weapon because they have Mark Andrews, Derrick Henry, and they run the ball so much, what's the fun in Zay Flowers? Next up is George Pickens going up against the Eagles on Thursday night. I love George Pickens this season, but in week number 1, I am scared shitless, just like we talked about with CeeDee Lamb. This could be a very bad debut for George Pickens. The Dallas Cowboys might get locked up, and they may throw away the key. This could be a belt-to-ass performance. This could be the Eagles are blowing out the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones is getting shamed on national media, and I think that's probably what ends up happening. But they're going to be down. They're going to have to throw, so Pickens is going to be okay enough. Juwan Jennings, let's see what happens here. He hasn't been practicing. That's concerning, but he's going to play in this game. Allegedly. He's been practicing with the calf. He was dealing with the contract situation. Again, who knows how much it was the calf injury? Who knows how much it was the holdout? Who knows if it was just straight, it could have just been straight up holdout and he's using it as an excuse. Could have been both. A wombo combo together. That ain't Falco. So I'm a little nervous here, but I do think Juwan Jennings will be a good pick at ADP if he's able to play. 37, Matthew Golden, Detroit. Don't like the spot, but Matthew Golden should be the wide receiver 1. Jaden Riley Reed's banged up. We'll see what happens here. Could be a high-scoring game, but again, be a little bit more pessimistic with him than Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers wants the new contract. The Raiders basically hit him with the Kembe, no, not today, motherfucker. So it doesn't seem like he's getting paid. He's been practicing with the team. He's not really holding out. I assume he plays. So yeah, I think Jacoby Myers feels good in this range. Final tier here is going to be the not ideal tier. If you have to play these guys, I'm not feeling great about it. I get why if you're in a deeper league, maybe you're playing these guys, but you probably don't want to. Calvin Ridley. Nick, you loved Calvin Ridley this offseason. Yeah, I did. I banged the drum for him. I talked him up highly, but up against the Denver Broncos defense, in Denver, in Mile High, up against what might be the best defense in the NFL, miss me with that. I'm scared about Calvin Ridley. It's Cam Ward's first ever regular season NFL start. That's scary. Khalil Shakira, going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Khalil Shakir is like legitimately just a guy that I'm going to rank as like the wide receiver 40-ish every week. That's where he's ranked right now. Wide receiver 40. He's limited in practice on Wednesday with an ankle. Not great. Gets a lot of targets. Doesn't have much touchdown upside, but he'll get you 10, 11 points, and you'll be happy about it. Debo, Chris Olave, Cooper Kupp, Josh Downs, Christian Kirk, Michael Pittman Jr., Keon Coleman, Jaden Riley Reed also in this tier. We're not going to talk about them because they're outside the top 40. If you guys do want my rankings, you want to check out the full rankings list, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, defense, kicker. They're updated all the time. They're going to be on Patreon. They'll be posted tonight, so you will actually get them on there. Make sure you guys check that out. Link in the video description. Make sure you guys do check out Underdog, and make sure you guys hit that subscribe button like it owes you money if you did enjoy. Check out one of the videos on your screen if you have seen them already. I love you guys all so much. We will be live Thursday night before the NFL kickoff. I love you so much. Have a great one, as always. Good boy!